point. I look forward to passing this reform bill and putting Americans back to work, and I urge passage of this bill.
Gentleman's time's expired. Gentleman from Oregon.
I yield myself 2 minutes.
Gentleman's recognized for 2 minutes.
This is 27 months of certainty for the states. That's good. They will be able to plan major projects. I don't mean there'll be some equipment acquisitions by contractors and others, unlike the short-term minuscule amount of money spent during the so-called stimulus bill, which I opposed. That's good. But this is not enough. The United States of America 10 years ago was rated as having the 5th best transportation infrastructure in the world. Not great, but not that bad. Today, we are 25th in the world. 25th. Most third world countries are spending a much larger percentage of their gross domestic product on transportation infrastructure than we are. The Eisenhower legacy is crumbling. We have 150,000 bridges that need repair or replacement. 40% of the pavement on the national highway system needs to be totally redone, not just surfaced. And we have a $70 billion backlog in transit, and we have Buy America rules which guarantee that all the products that go into those jobs, that investment we need, would be kept here at home. So we did not get to that point with this bill. This is essentially a little decline from what we just spent last year on transportation infrastructure. And what we spent last year, according to 2 blue ribbon panels commissioned during the Bush administration, is about half of what we need to begin to bring this up to a world-class system, compete with the rest of the world, and deal with the deficiencies. Build a 21st century transportation system. This money in this bill for 27 months will be enough to put a few more Band-Aids on the 20th century and the 19th century infrastructure in some places that we're still utilizing. There are good things. It builds on the ideas that Chairman Oberstar and I offered 2 years ago to dramatically consolidate the bureaucracy downtown of the Department of Transportation. We don't need to be spending money on 106 different programs that are so complicated that no one knows how to apply and how to apply the rules and all that. That's good. We're going to consolidate that. It does some streamlining so projects will get done more quickly. There are a number of salutary aspects to this bill, but we need to do better by the American people the next time we address this issue.
Gentleman from Tennessee.
Madam Speaker, I'd like to now recognize a former chairman of our committee, a great member of this body, from the gentleman from Alaska, Mr. Young, for 2 minutes.
Gentleman from Alaska is recognized for 2 minutes.
Ask the unanimous to provide
without objection.
Madam Chair and members of this body, I want to congratulate the staff primarily. We mentioned some of them before, but the work that they put in this bill is awesome when they're dealing with the dark side. And you did such a good job of getting things done that we tried to get done in H.R. 7. And I will agree with the gentleman from Oregon about the future. We have not done in this body, because the public still does not believe we need to do what should be done, and that is to pay for the infrastructure through a system that's fair to everyone, and quit thinking there's a magic wand to get this job done, to build our infrastructure as it should be. We are declining each year. I'd like to thank the chairman also, Mr. Micah. He's absolutely right. I was chairman. We had a $289 billion bill, 5-year bill. It's been in place now 8 years, and I'm quite proud of T. Lou. But the chairman was, yes, with his hands tied, because we did not and have not in Congress retained what I think is a constitutional right of every congressman, is direct money in directions that they know best for, without costing the budget 1 dime. Now we've transferred this money to the State Department of Transportation, and I think that's really a wrong way to do it, because they're not elected. They don't know what's best for a state. But Mr. Micah did an outstanding job. Mr. Duncan did an outstanding job, and the staff did an outstanding job to make really a small silk purse out of a sow's ear. But now we have to go forth and do another legislative bill in the very near future and explain it to the public. You don't like those potholes, you don't like that wobbly bridge, then you better support the concept of a user's fee or some way to raise the money, because you won't take it out of the general fund. We have to do this for America if you want a sound economy. Our economy is based upon energy and the ability to move product to and from. If you don't do that, you don't have the America I know. I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman's time's expired. The gentleman from Oregon.
Yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Iowa.
Gentleman from Iowa is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would just like to say this, to my appreciation to you, Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Ray Hall, and to you, Peter, and everybody that's worked so hard on this. Just one comment. You know, we're moving forward. We're going to have jobs. We've done the right thing. It's a good first step. We've got more to do, as just said. You know, everybody give up something, and you know, we got this control box, if you want to call it, the black box, the recorder. It's going to be in all trucks. The Mexican trucks get theirs paid for. This happens to be a commercial driver's license. I don't know how many of you got one, but if you want to see one, come and look at it sometime. You know, it's a little doing to get one. Owner-operators have to pay for their own. They're making 50s, what, Peter, 50, 60,000 a year if they're doing a good operation. They like to do it, and that's prevalent trucks running across this country. They're doing a good job. They're keeping commerce moving. We ought to just keep in mind, you know, we ought to give those middle-class, hard-working, patriotic Americans consideration they deserve. But I'm glad we got the bill. We'll go out there and work with you, all of you, to try to get it better and get more done, but we've got a good first step. Thank you very much. I yield back.
Gentleman's time's expired. Gentleman from without objection. Gentleman from Florida.
Madam Speaker, I'm pleased to yield 3 minutes to the distinguished chair of the Science, Technology, Space Committee, the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Hall.
Gentleman from Texas is recognized for 3 minutes.
Madam Speaker, I, of course, rise in support of the conference report accompanying H.R. 4348, bicameral effort that provides states flexibility and eliminates duplication of effort. I want to thank Chairman Micah for his leadership in this conference and for his outstanding work in negotiating a strong surface transportation reauthorization. The conferee's commitment to reforming federal surface transportation programs has ensured the hardworking taxpayers' dollars are being used more effectively and efficiently. Chairman Micah actually visited most areas of this country at a time when we were at home in our districts. He could have been at his home in his district, but he was seeking out empowered a bill that sought the greatest good for the greatest number, and he worked hard at it. I don't believe in my 32 years here I've ever seen a chairman work so hard to get a bill that was very difficult to start with. At the outset of the conference, many of us committed to ensuring that transportation and restoration funding is used as its intended purpose. As chairman of the House Committee on Science, Space, and Technology, I'm pleased that the transportation research programs and the authorization are focused on enhancing safety, reducing congestion, and improving quality in the transportation system. Reauthorization before us provides, among other things, greater flexibility to keep research programs focused and eliminates a number of unnecessary programs. The inclusion of language contained in the Restore Act illustrates our commitment to the revitalization of those areas harmed by the Deepwater Horizon oil spill, the addition of certain transparency requirements, and the ability for the Gulf states to dedicate funding to research and development and undertaking projects and programs using the best available science ensures the area most impacted will benefit. I also like to thank my colleague from Science, Space, and Technology, Mr. Kovac. He worked hard to protect the interests of his constituents in Minnesota, and he was committed to ensuring we come away with a strong research title. I believe we've done that. Finally, I'd like to thank the Speaker for the opportunity to work with the Senate to complete a conference report that will provide more certainty to the states and localities for infrastructure planning purposes. I believe this bill will help to create jobs for American people, which is vital in the troubled economy. With that, I yield back my time. And I
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from West Virginia.
Madam Speaker, I'm happy to yield 2 minutes at this time to the distinguished ranking member on the Education and Workforce Committee, Mr. George Miller, who has jurisdiction over the student loan section of this conference agreement.
Gentleman from California is recognized recognized for 2 minutes.
I ask unanimous consent to revise and extend my remarks.
objection.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. I rise today in support of this conference agreement. Without it, transportation projects would dry up, countless American workers would be thrown out of work, and the college education would cost an additional $1,000 for more than 7 million students and their families. The benefits of this legislation for millions of Americans will be felt immediately. In my home state of California, this legislation will save or create nearly 180,000 construction jobs, rebuilding our bridges and highways and bike paths. And it will save 570,000 California students from going deeper into debt this next academic year. With this conference report, 7 million students across this country will get another year of interest rate relief as they take out their student loans for the coming college year. More than 4.5 million of those will be women. More than 1.5 million of those will be African American. Nearly 1 million of those are Hispanic students, all who are struggling to stay in college, and this interest rate relief that we're providing today will help them. What is happening today, though, is a rare thing in this Congress. It's a victory for college students. It's a victory for low-income families. It's a victory for middle class. It's a victory that should not be as rare as it is in the Congress today. The American people should bank this win, and we should make sure that we continue to cooperate in this Congress, and we should also make sure that we heed the words of Mr. Young and Mr. DeFazio that we have to do more on our infrastructure to make this country a first-rate country going forward in the future. Thank you very much for yielding your time, Mr. Rahal, and for all of your work on this legislation. I yield back to Bob.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Florida.
Pleased to yield, Madam Speaker, 2 minutes to the distinguished chair of the Financial Services Committee, gentleman from Alabama, Mr. Bacchus.
Gentleman from Alabama is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you. First, let me commend Chairman Micah on behalf of this Congress and the American people for the fine work that you and your committee have done on this bill. We'll build more roads with less money and cut through red tape and expedite projects. I also want to associate myself with the words of Don Young, our former chairman, and of Mr. Miller from California. You cannot have the leading country in the world cannot have a third world infrastructure. And unless we find new funding sources, we'll continue to fall behind, and we'll continue to have those potholes and bottlenecks. Now, I want to move to the National Flood Insurance Program, which is a part of this bill. It also is a win for the American people. This House, over a year ago, approved comprehensive flood insurance, risk-based that would reduce the cost and bring many benefits to the program. We now, last week, the Senate sent us a bill, which is essentially the bill we sent them over a year ago. It's a bipartisan bill. It was a lot of hard work and input from all the members. We passed it overwhelmingly in the Financial Services Committee, overwhelmingly on the floor of this House. I'd like to commend Chairman Bigger for her fine work. Her name is on this bill, and there's a reason for that. She has worked harder than anyone in this Congress to deliver a good bill. It's a 5-year bill, and it will begin to make up for the deficit of $17.5 billion that this program has as a result of those hurricanes back in 2005. I'd like to commend the Illinois delegation and the California delegation under Mr. Simkus and Mr. Costello, who sadly is retiring this year. This bill takes care or balances the bill between cost and communities who use their own funds. So I yield back any time I have remaining and urge the members to pass this bill. It's a good bill. It includes many good provisions. And I'm proud to say that the Financial Services Committee and its members have been a part of this effort. Thank you.
Time has expired. Gentleman from West Virginia.
Madam Speaker, I'm happy to yield 1 minute to a distinguished member of our conference on this agreement, the gentlelady from District of Columbia, Ellen Holmes North.
Gentlewoman from the District of Columbia is recognized for 1 minute.
I thank Chairman Micah and Ranking Member Rahal for working together on this bill. This year's transportation bill could be named the Jobs Act of 2012 because it is the only bill of the 112th Congress that will create significant number of jobs. A word on a couple of significant provisions. Seldom has a pioneering landmark bill found its way to a transportation reauthorization bill, but here we find the first bill to set national standards for subway safety, bringing subways in line with all other modes of transportation which have long had national standards. This is probably the most significant provision of this bill. Finally, the DBE language is tailored to assure that the government is equipped with the tools that meet the compelling need for the government to meet its responsibility to continue to address discrimination in small business contracting. With all its shortcomings, and there are many, the American people finally will have a jobs bill from this Congress.
Gentlewoman's time's expired. Gentleman from Florida.
Madam Speaker, I'm pleased to yield 2.5 minutes to the distinguished gentleman from Pennsylvania and chair of the Rail Subcommittee, one of the leaders of our committee, Mr. Schuster.
Gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized for 2.5 minutes.
I thank the Speaker and thank the Chairman for yielding me time. I first want to thank the Chairman, Chairman Micah and Chairman Duncan for their hard work in producing what I believe is a very solid bill that has historic reforms in it. And the Chairman negotiated was a tough negotiator, and he came away with something that I think we all can be very proud of. And we need to act on this bill. If we don't act, if we fail to act, the trust fund would be default. We'd have to figure out a way to bail it out, but yet here we are with a 2-year bill that's fully funded and has some significant reforms on. Those reforms include, first of all, it's a 2-year bill which is going to put certainty out there to the states and to the people that the companies that hire people and build roads and highways and supply them with the product that they need, so that's extremely important. Second, it consolidates nearly 2/3 of the programs, which is important in reducing red tape, and then the streamlining project delivery. That is significant. We believe it can reduce the amount of time to build a significant highway project in half, and that's tremendous savings. When you just look at a project I recently visited in Oklahoma City, Crosstown Expressway, $680 million job, took 15 years. If you cut that in half, you'd save somewhere between $60 and $80 million just on the inflation alone. So that's significant savings, and that's why I believe this bill has got great reforms in it. It's something we all need to get behind and pass. And again, I want to congratulate the Chairman for his great work, but also the staff, all the staff on the committee, both sides of the aisle, both sides of the Capitol, worked hard, but a special thanks to Jim Kuhn, Amy Smith, Jennifer Hall, and Jim Timon for their tireless effort. A lot of late nights, but they did a great job, and we owe them a great deal of thanks for what they did. So again, I encourage all of my colleagues to support this bill. Thank you back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from West Virginia.
Madam Speaker, I'm happy to yield to another valued conferee on our side, the gentleman from New York, Mr. Nadler. 1 minute.
Gentleman from New York is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in support of the Transportation Reauthorization Conference report with mixed feelings. The conference report provides $105 billion over the next 27 months for highway and transit programs and will put about 2 million people to work at a time when we desperately need jobs. These funding levels, although far from adequate, are a great improvement from the original House bill and will allow transportation agencies to plan and construct projects important to the economy. The conference report also prevents student loan interest rates from doubling, which is critical to more than 7 million students. The transit funding formulas are focused on regions with the highest need and will provide essential resources for the MTA to maintain a state of good repair and to make capacity improvements to the New York City subway system. It is unfortunate, however, that the ability for transit agencies to flex funding for operating assistance has been dropped from the final bill. Also, unfortunately, the Transportation Enhancements Program, which includes bicycle, pedestrian, safe routes to schools, is reduced by several $100 million. And the Projects of National and Regional Significance account, which provides for essential freight projects, is substantially watered down. Thankfully, the Keystone Pipeline and coal ash provisions are out of the bill. And although the 270-day deeming provision is no longer in the bill, there are other environmental streamlining provisions of concern, such as the expansion of NEPA categorical exclusions for all projects within an existing right-of-way. Massive highway projects could occur within an existing right-of-way, but no longer be subject to NEPA environmental review requirements.
I yield an additional 30 seconds.
Thank you. The final package is a combination of hard-fought victories and losses. Overall, this legislation is essential for creating jobs, preventing interest rates from increasing for millions of students, and putting us on a path toward economic recovery. Therefore, I urge my colleagues to support this conference report. Thank you.
Gentleman from Florida.
Madam Speaker, I'm pleased to yield 2 minutes to one of the distinguished leaders in the House, and gentlelady from Illinois, who had a great deal to do with the flood insurance provisions work tirelessly. Ms. Biggert, 2 minutes, please.
Gentlewoman from Illinois is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving me this time. And Madam Speaker, I rise in support of this conference report and wish to address particularly the Title II, which would reauthorize for 5 years the National Flood Insurance Program, or NFIP. There are 6 important reforms included in this bill. It improves NFIP's financial stability. It will reduce the burden on taxpayers. It restores integrity to the FEMA mapping system. It will help bring certainty to the housing market through a 5-year reauthorization. And last, it explores ways to increase private market participation. Many of us in Congress would like the private sector, instead of taxpayers, to shoulder the risk of the National Flood Insurance Program. Market participants have signaled that they can assume the risk of flood insurance, and with the appropriate data from FEMA, the reinsurance industry has indicated within weeks it can price this risk. That's why for the first time in the NFIP's existence, this flood reform measure will require FEMA to solicit bids to determine the cost to the private sector, not to the taxpayer, or bear the risk of insurance. Finally, I'd just like to say that this bill is proof that bipartisanship is possible, particularly when it comes to an issue of national significance, such as the most frequently occurring national disaster in the United States, flooding. When a flood occurs, it does not choose an area that has Republican or Democrat leadings or just affect elected officials. Flood insurance affects most of the country and people of all walks of life. Today's flood reform measure demonstrates that the democratic process, where reforms are publicly vetted, reflect input from interested stakeholders, and are realized. Let me just thank the bill's co-sponsor, Ms. Waters, as well as Chairman Bacchus, Financial Insurance Subcommittee, and full committee staff on both sides of the aisle. And with that, let me just say also that I'd like to thank the Senate and House leadership, including Speaker Boehner and Leader Cantor, as well as the thousands of constituents and groups who gave their valuable time and input to this very good bill. Yield back.
Gentlewoman's time has expired. Gentleman from West Virginia.
Madam Speaker, I'm happy to yield 2 minutes to the distinguished ranking member on our Railroad Subcommittee and a valued member of our conference, the gentlelady from Florida, Ms. Green Brown.
Gentlewoman from Florida is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you. I had much higher hopes for this transportation reauthorization bill and long for the days that our committee worked together in a bipartisan manner. But this is a good day for the traveling public and for the American economy. This transportation bill will strengthen our infrastructure, provide quality jobs, and serve as a tool to put American people back to work. Although I would have preferred a long-term bill with much more funding for infrastructure, and I'm disappointed that we did not include a rail tile or give our local transit agents the flexibility they asked for during these economic times. This bill will give states, local government, and other transportation stakeholders some stability to plan and build critical transportation projects. This bill provides steady funding for both highway and transit programs, maintain the 20-80 split between highway and transit, speed up the permitting process, include important safety measures, and will save lives, and maintain OSHA oversight of hazmat material. I am also pleased that this legislation includes the Restore Act that will help Gulf states like my state of Florida recover danger and plan for and prevent oil spill. Florida economy is based on tourism, and this would be destroyed overnight if the oil spill reaches our beach. This isn't a perfect bill, but I am going to vote for it. I want to thank the Senate, and I want to thank Senator Boxer, Mr. Miker, and Mr. Ray Hall, and all for working together. My understanding that this is a clean bill, and we can vote for it. No riders are included, my understanding. So I will vote for it, and I will recommend my colleagues to vote for it too. Thank you.
Gentlewoman's time's expired. Gentleman from Florida.
Madam Speaker, I'm pleased to yield a minute and a half to one of the leaders of transportation, new on the committee, but Comfrey did an outstanding job. Gentleman from Indiana, Mr. Bouchon.
The gentleman from Indiana is recognized for 1.5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As a member of the House Transportation Conference Committee, I join my colleagues in proudly supporting this legislation. My House colleagues and I attended many of the conference negotiations, and we fought hard for common-sense transportation reforms. This bill streamlines the environmental review process, consolidates and eliminates duplicative programs, and provides more flexibility to the states. Passing this legislation will provide job security for millions of Americans. I'm grateful to my House and Senate colleagues that stood with me in opposing an amendment that was in the Senate bill. This amendment unfairly punished the state of Indiana for pursuing a public-private partnership. Not only would it have cost Indiana millions in transportation funding, but it would have set our country backwards in innovative transportation policy. This type of thinking is not where we need to be headed in transportation policy. We need to put taxpayers first and continue to engage the private sector in transportation projects. I would like to thank the House and Senate staff who have been working tirelessly on the legislation. I thank Chairman Mica, Senator Boxer, and Senator Inhofe for their leadership on this issue. Thanks to everybody's hard work, 25,000 Hoosiers will have job security for the next 2 years. I urge all of my colleagues to support this legislation, and let's put millions of Americans back to work. Thank you, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from West Virginia.
Madam Speaker, I'm happy to yield 2 minutes to distinguished ranking member on our Government Ops and Oversight Committee, as well as a valued member of our Conference on Transportation, the gentleman from Maryland, Mr. Elijah Cummings.
Gentleman from Maryland is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Ranking Member Rahal, and thank you for your leadership. I also thank Chairman Mica and all of my colleagues. This bill provides certainty for our states, but overall funding for highways is reduced relative to fiscal year 2011. To ensure our nation's mobility, we need expanded investments in all modes. Critically, this bill finds that discrimination and related barriers continue to pose obstacles for minority and women-owned businesses in the transportation industry. My colleagues and I considered the extensive evidence provided to us in testimony in the Transportation Committee and detailed disparity studies documenting ongoing discrimination in transportation contracting. I've concluded there is a compelling national interest in reauthorizing our DBE programs. I thank Senator Boxer for her leadership on this issue. That said, I'm disappointed that House Democrats' participation in the conference was so limited. And as I have had the chance to review the final report, several of its provisions deeply concern me. Perhaps none more so than Section 100-124, which would reduce by 1/3 the percent of food aid shipped on U.S. vessels. There are fewer than 100 U.S. flagged vessels in foreign trade now, and they carry less than 2% of U.S. cargoes. Without the MSP and cargo preference programs, we would have no domestic merchant marine, leaving our military and indeed our economy completely dependent on foreign vessels. The effect of Section 100-124 will be to speed the continuing decline of our fleet. It should never have been included in this bill, and it should be immediately repealed. With that, I am going to support the bill and urge my colleagues to support it, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Florida.
Madam Speaker, I'm pleased to yield 2 minutes to the distinguished gentlelady from West Virginia, Ms. Capito, who's worked very hard for a provision, and she's going to explain the situation that brings her here at this point. Yield 2 minutes to Ms. Capito.
Gentlewoman from West Virginia is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Mr. Chairman and the Ranking Member and the Conference Committee for what I think is a victory today. I think this reauthorization bill is one of the most important responsibilities we have. It's a jobs bill. It will bring efficiencies to our funding stream for our very important projects, and it will remove a lot of uncertainty. As a member of this committee, I'm really pleased that we were able to come to a compromise. The efficiencies and the streamlining When the chairman brought the committee to Yeager Airport, that was one of the resounding complaints about current funding in the transportation sector is it takes too long, it's too expensive, and time is money. And we can do a lot better job with more efficiencies and make our dollars go farther. And with hard deadlines and some exemptions, I think that this bill will do that. There are a couple provisions in here that I regret were not included, and most specifically the provision on the coal ash provision. I mean, we're looking at a time where we have scant resources. We have to make smart decisions about how to weave the balance between our environment and our economy. And the coal ash provision would have provided, I think, the certainty to the construction industry and to those surrounding also the coal industry that smart use and responsible use of coal ash would be in our future. Unfortunately, and I believe it occurred in the Senate that that provision was not included in our bill, and I'm deeply disappointed by that. But we will, as an energy state and as energy representatives, will live to fight another day. Additionally, I would like to say as a member of the Financial Services Committee as well, the reason that the flood bill is on this bill is extremely important, again, to lend the certainty to lenders, realtors, home builders, and really the consumer, that we can get that housing market moving again, and the certainty provided by the reauthorization of the flood bill in here will provide us with that. But I simply want to say that I think that in the bicameral, bipartisan way we move together to show folks in West Virginia and across this nation that we can work together to create the jobs that we need in the sectors that we need, and I look forward to supporting the bill. Thank you.
Woman's time's expired. Gentleman from West Virginia.
Madam Speaker, I'm happy to yield 1 minute to the gentlelady from California, Ms. Maxine Waters, who has our jurisdiction over the flood
Gentlewoman
insurance
from
portion.
California is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I'm pleased that we could work in a bipartisan fashion to not only extend our expiring transportation and student loan interest rate programs, but to also reform the federal flood insurance program. I'd like to thank Rep. Judy Biggert for her leadership and commitment to reforming flood insurance. Representative Biggert and I both worked together to meet the needs of our respective caucuses, and the result is a bill that puts the flood insurance program on a solid footing. The flood insurance program provides insurance for over 5 million Americans. However, due to massive losses from Hurricane Katrina and an inefficient mapping system, the flood insurance program has faced challenges in serving homeowners and taxpayers. The Biggert-Waters bill will reauthorize the National Flood Insurance Program for 5 years and make critical improvements to the flood insurance program. The reforms in this bill will make flood insurance more affordable, give communities more input into flood maps, and strengthen the financial position of the flood insurance program. And with that, I would urge an aye vote, and I thank you and yield back the balance of my time.
Gentlewoman's time has expired. Gentleman from Florida.
Madam Speaker, I'm pleased to yield 1.5 minutes to another conferee and a young leader in the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, Ms. Herrera Butler, a gentlelady from Washington.
Gentlewoman from Washington is recognized for 1.5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Micah, and I'd like to thank you and your staff for working tirelessly on this issue. For the past several months, both House and Senate members and staff have been working around the clock, and through tough negotiations, we were able to work in a bipartisan, bicameral way to produce something that has direct impacts on the lives of the folks I serve in Southwest Washington. I'm well aware of the perception that this Congress is having difficulty getting things done, and I fought for us to stay at the table, to keep working, to push through for solutions to demonstrate our ability to put Americans' needs ahead of politics. And today, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, we were successful. Particularly folks in my home district in Southwest Washington State are excited that the House fought for vital reforms that are going to allow us to cut project delivery times down, even by half in some instances. That means dollars are going to go further, more projects are going to get done, and more money will be available for additional projects. That sets us up for more jobs. We're also giving rural communities the necessary support to fund schools, emergency services, and roads while we come up with a more permanent solution that allows for increased and better forest management. My thanks to Chairman Hastings and his committee for their tireless work on this issue. We also have projects of national and regional significance, the Recreational Trails Program that benefits trail riders, hikers, outdoor enthusiasts, all in my beautiful district down in Southwest Washington. We've supported using the Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund for its intended purposes, improving our waterways that are economic arteries for places like Washington State and around the country. Mr. Chairman, this bill is not perfect. No bill ever is. However, this is a symbol of how Congress is supposed to operate and why we're here. With that, I urge its passage, and I thank you for your time.
Gentlewoman's time's expired. Gentleman from West Virginia.
Madam Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Pennsylvania, valued member of our Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure, Mr. Altmaier.
Gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized for 1 minute.
Madam Speaker, it's been 7 years since the Congress enacted a long-term highway authorization. And since that law expired in 2009, state transportation agencies across America have had to deal with the uncertainty of looming funding expirations. Construction workers have not known whether there would be jobs available to them, and motorists, retailers, and manufacturers have watched our infrastructure continue to crumble as this body continually failed to act. We cannot wait any longer. That's why I'm pleased today Congress will finally pass a long-term authorization that will provide certainty that has been lacking for years. I'm also pleased that the final conference report includes a provision I authored to make America's roads safer for older drivers. By improving the safety of our roads and highways and making older drivers travel as safe as possible, we increase road safety for every American. This bill is an example of the success Congress can achieve when we work together. I thank my colleagues for their dedication to our nation's infrastructure, and I'm proud to support this bill.
Gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from Florida.
Madam Speaker, I'd like to inquire as to how much time remains on both sides.
Gentleman from Florida has 5 minutes remaining, and the gentleman from West Virginia has 14½ minutes remaining.
I'll continue to reserve.
Gentleman from West Virginia.
I reserve the balance of my time, Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from West Virginia is reserving his time. Gentleman from Florida.
Well, Madam Speaker, if I'm correct, I think I can close, get the opportunity to close, so the gentleman from West Virginia can continue to reserve, but that can't go on indefinitely.
Does the gentleman from West Virginia have additional speakers?
No, Madam Speaker. May I ask for a repeat of the time
Gentleman from West Virginia has 14½ minutes, and the gentleman from Florida has 5.
Okay, I'm ready to close.
Gentleman from West Virginia is recognized for up to 14½ minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First, I want to extend my deep appreciation to all conferees on this legislation, some 47, I believe. I'd like to pay particular word of commendation to the chair of the conference committee, the gentlelady from California, Senator Barbara Boxer. She worked extremely hard on this legislation. She worked tirelessly to resist many extreme proposals that were lobbed at her by Republican House conferees. She worked to ensure that policies and investment levels of this legislation will serve America. And she did work in a bipartisan fashion. I'd also like to thank my counterpart and the chair of our House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, Mr. Mica, for his leadership. He has already spoken and has many times of the bipartisan nature in which we started this journey in my hometown of Beckley, West Virginia. And I deeply appreciate the hearings that he started there and his continued outreach across the country. As this hard road progressed, there were some diversions along the way. There were efforts to sidetrack what we were trying to do in providing long-term funding for this nation's infrastructure, yet we're here today to hail not the perfect bill, and we've heard that many times in this body, that we're not considering the perfect bill, but we are, out of necessity, finding ourselves working together to extend our transportation programs so that millions more of American workers are not laid off the job. I also want to thank my senior senator, Jay Rockefeller, the chairman of the Senate Commerce Committee, for his great contribution to this pending measure. Again, efforts on his part prevented further degradation of any safety measures that were proposed in this conference agreement, and we have a strong measure in regards to safety issues thanks to Senator Rockefeller. This legislation will preserve American jobs. As I said in the opening of this conference committee, it's time that we quit taking those political jabs at one another and provide jobs for our people. And that's what we're doing in this legislation. The contracting season is late, and especially in many of our northern states, and our contractors need this legislation in order to have the certainty to sign those contracts to put Americans to work this summer repairing our infrastructure. We've put aside, I guess you will, our hard heads, which I'm happy to say, in exchange for hard hats doing the work that's necessary to get our economy back on. And as with any piece of legislation, we've compromised in this bill. Both sides have, or I should say all sides have. That's part of the legislative process. I've always said that. And there's some things in this bill we don't like, some things we like. There are probably 435 different ways this bill could have been written if each of us had had our own way to write a bill, but that's not the way the process works. And being the process being what it is, we are where we are today, and so I'm here to support the pending legislation. As I sit down, I want to also thank the staff for their hard work on both the majority side in the House and minority side on our side, and the staff on both sides of the other body as well. I want to thank our conferees on the House side, Peter DeFazio, Jerry Costello, Eleanor Holmes Norton, Jerry Nadler, Corrine Brown, Elijah Cummings, Leonard Boswell, and Tim Bishop. These individuals stuck with us every part of the way, and they were truly had their hearts in improving our infrastructure and providing jobs for America. So this is a jobs bill. I'm happy to support it, and I urge my colleagues to support this conference agreement. Yield back.
Gentleman yields back his time. Gentleman from Florida.
I yield myself the balance of our time.
Gentleman is recognized for up to 5 minutes.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker. It is good to be at this point in the completion of a long overdue major transportation reform bill for the Congress and for the American people. First, I'll take a moment and thank our staff. Jim Timon, who's next to me here, tireless staff director of the Highway Subcommittee day and night, helping to sort out things, looking out for the people, and making certain this bill had the very best provisions. Dan Vioni, Shant Boyajian, Jeff Stroback, Joyce Miller, Fred Miller, Steve Martinko, Justin Harkleroad. Justin's my press secretary or assistant. He's always had to explain what I've said, or at least clarify. Jason Rosa, my sidekick Clint Hines, who has followed me on the floor with so many member requests. Jennifer Hall, our outstanding legal counsel. Amy Smith, some real firepower for good policy for the country and for transportation for the nation. And then our untiring leader of the committee, Jim Kuhn, our staff director, who day and night neglected his beautiful family for the benefit of the people of this country. And then we even retired Jimmy Miller in the process, who headed up for many, many years both his service to our nation and our committee. He retired in the process, hopefully not as a result of all the hard work, but a great American. And then Stephanie Kapolosis, who was on our team for a while. She's the former Secretary of Transportation from Florida, and she organized the secretaries around the United States, I think the forward-thinking ones, to help us go through the laws and all the mess that we've created and redline it, get rid of the bureaucracy, the duplication, the costly red tape. So our hats are off to all of them and so many more, and all of our distinguished colleagues who were conferees who worked. We actually engaged members in discussion, a new approach to a conference committee, but we did that. And I'm sorry the other side was thrown under the bus, some by the administration, particularly Mr. Oberstar, who I feel so bad because he waited so long and could never see this day. And then again, in the process, we did not draft the legislation. Ms. Boxer's staff did. Again, if there was anyone who felt that they didn't participate enough, I tried not to be responsible for that approach. Having started, as I said, the first hearing in Beckley, West Virginia, Mr. Ray Hall's hometown, going all the way to the West Coast to have an unprecedented, historic, bipartisan, bicameral hearing in California with Barbara Boxer, who chaired the conference committee. So this is where we are. Tomorrow would actually close down thousands of transportation projects. Departments of transportation around the country were on the verge of actually giving sort of IOUs or giving notification to close down. Probably millions would have been put out of work if we hadn't acted. So this is very important for the American people, particularly at this time when we're on the cusp. We don't know which way the economy is going to go, but it has to go forward. There's some things in here that are also great. The Restore Act, student loans, our students will benefit. The National Flood Insurance, people in my states and others will see a reduction. So transportation safety was a paramount. Consolidation of some of the programs, streamlining, cutting red tape. We were able to do more with less and move transportation for the nation forward. Again, I thank everyone for their cooperation. Pleased that we've reached this point. It doesn't have everything. A lot of people said it couldn't be done. And as my son often says, I'll close with his remarks, and he likes the cable guy. He says, "Dad, get her done." And son, we got her done today, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Yields back. All time for debate has expired. Pursuant to House Resolution 717, the previous question is ordered. Question is on adoption of the conference report. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The conference report is adopted. The gentleman from West Virginia.
Yeas and nays.
Gentlemen, request the yeas and nays. The yeas and nays are requested. Those favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will rise. Number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, further proceedings on the question will be postponed. Pursuant to House Resolution 697, for what purposes, gentleman from Iowa seek recognition?
Madam Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that all members may have 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend their remarks and make extraneous material on the further consideration of H.R. 5972, and that I may include tabular material on the same.
Without objection. Pursuant to House Resolution 697 and Rule 18, the Chair declares the House in the Committee of the Whole House of the State on the State of the Union for further consideration of H.R. 5972. Will the gentleman from Indiana, Mr. Bouchon, kindly take the chair?
The committee will be in order. The House is in the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union for further consideration of H.R. 5972, which the clerk will report by title.
A bill making appropriations for the Departments of Transportation and Housing and Urban Development and related agencies for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2013, and for other purposes.
When the Committee of the Whole rose on Wednesday, June 27th, 2012, an amendment was offered by the gentleman from Louisiana, Mr. Scalise, had been disposed of, and the bill had been read through page 150, line 9. For what purpose does the gentleman from Iowa seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to vacate the request for a recorded vote on the Landry amendment to the end that the chair put the question de novo.
Is there an objection to the request of the gentleman from Iowa? Without objection, the request for a recorded vote on the amendment is vacated, and the chair will put the question de novo. The clerk will redesignate the amendment.
Amendment offered by Mr. Landry of Louisiana.
The question is on adoption of the amendment offered by the gentleman from Louisiana. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. Pursuant to Clause 6 of Rule 18, proceedings will now resume on the amendments on which the further proceedings were postponed in the following order. An amendment by Ms. Blackburn of Tennessee. Amendment number 13 by Mr. McClintock of California. An amendment by Mr. Langford of Oklahoma. Amendment 9 by Mr. Denham of California. The chair will reduce to 2 minutes the time for any electronic vote after the first vote in the series. The unfinished business is requested for a recorded vote on the amendment offered by the gentlewoman from Tennessee, Ms. Blackburn, on which further proceedings were postponed and which the noes prevailed by voice vote. The clerk will redesignate the amendment.
Amendment offered by Mrs. Blackburn of Tennessee.
A recorded vote has been requested. Those in support of the request for a recorded vote will rise and be counted. A sufficient number have arisen. A recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This will be a 15-minute vote.
The House here on this Friday morning working to finish up legislative work for the week, for the month, and they'll be gone next week for the July 4th holiday back in their districts. Here wrapping up work on their 6th fiscal year 2013 spending bill. This is the nearly $52 billion bill for housing and transportation programs. 4 amendment votes for that transportation spending bill. This is an amendment by Representative Blackburn of Tennessee, which would cut all accounts in the bill by 1% across the board. This will be a 15-minute vote, and 3 2-minute votes will follow on amendments to that bill. The other bill they've been dealing with today, the conference report really for surface transportation, for extending student loans, and for the National Flood Insurance Program. That vote coming up shortly. We spoke to a Capitol Hill reporter for some details on that bill. Joining us is Nathan Hurst, transportation staff writer with Congressional Quarterly. How did negotiators resolve their differences over the highway portion of this conference report?
Well, in the end, it actually involved 2 unrelated issues that were dropped in by the House Republicans. They had really wanted to expedite approval of the Keystone XL pipeline through the Midwest, and also limit the EPA's regulation of coal ash. In exchange for dropping those provisions, the House GOP was able to get a lot of environmental streamlining portions of the bill that they wanted, which really greased the wheels for the deal coming together.
The bill also includes 2 unrelated measures. Tell us about those, and how did they get inserted into the conference report?
So one is going to be a 1-year extension of the lower student loan rate for students going into college this year. That affects more than 7 million students, which was a big priority of the Democrats to get that in. Another one was the flood insurance extension for 5 years, which was a pretty significant piece of policy for both sides. Essentially, Congress was coming up against a number of deadlines that all coincided with the end of the month of June. So to expedite everything, it was easier to throw everything into the conference report and get all the legislation through at once.
Lots of major important issues included in this conference report. What's the overall cost, and how's it paid for?
Well, for the transportation portion, they ended up extending it through actually fiscal 2014, which was a year longer than a lot of stakeholders were expecting. So that's good news for road builders. That brought the cost from about $109 billion up to $120 billion. And that's going to be offset by a number of pension changes and by employers to the pension guarantee corporation that the government runs, and then also some accounting maneuvers within some accounts that the federal government owns.
Tell us about some of the winners and losers in this agreement.
Definitely, the winners are the states and localities that rely on the transportation department for funding for road, bridge, rail, freight projects. They definitely won out with more certainty than they were expecting, certainly falling short of a 6-year bill that a lot of people had seen as standard over the past few decades. But this is at least something to get us through the election and deeply into the 113th Congress. So that's a win. The losers here, one, Republicans were not able to get their Keystone XL provision, which was a big priority of theirs. And also the coal ash recycling industry was really hoping that there would be this restriction put on the EPA to really remove their ability to regulate coal ash. And so that ended up being a big capitulation on behalf of the GOP, considering their continued focus on restricting the EPA.
Clearly, from some of the early debate, both Democrats and Republicans not necessarily pleased with having to deal with such a big package on the last day before the July 4th recess. But in the end, how will the votes fall, both on the Democratic and Republican side?
Well, a lot of aides like to say that a deadline, the best deadline is one that's up against a recess, and that definitely proved to be the case with this legislation. Despite a number of Democrats having not signed on to, House Democrats having not actually signed on to the conference report, they're still expected to support it. So there's expected to be pretty strong bipartisan support for this in both chambers.
And will the Senate pass it today and the President sign it likewise?
Yes, the plan is to have this all shored up before everyone leaves for the July 4th weekend.
Nathan Hurst is transportation staff writer with Congressional Quarterly. Thank you for that update.
Thank you.
And a vote on that conference report coming up shortly here in the House. And as you heard from Nathan Hurst, it'll shortly thereafter go over to the Senate. First, though, the House has to deal with 4 remaining amendments to the Transportation and Housing Spending Bill. This first amendment by Representative Blackburn of Tennessee would cut all accounts in the bill by 1% across the board. There will be 3 more amendment votes to the transportation bill. Those will be 2-minute votes. We expect a Democratic motion to recommit on transportation and then final passage. The House wrapping up their work ahead of the July 4th holiday. And also on this Friday before the holiday, a number of discussions going on in Washington reaction to yesterday's Supreme Court decision, the 5-4 decision upholding most of the 2010 health care law. And C-SPAN is covering several of those. One over the Georgetown Law Center this morning, which is just wrapping up. As a matter of fact, they've been hosting a discussion, reaction, and analysis to the health care decision from yesterday, and we're going to show you a portion of that conversation as this vote continues.
Thank you, Susan, and thank you for coming. I want to start with a confession. My prediction about the outcome of this case was completely wrong. If I had any sense at all, I would go out of the prediction business. I thought it was barely possible that the court would uphold the mandate. If you had wanted to bet that they would do so with the Chief Justice casting the deciding vote and on tax clause grounds, I would have given you 1,000-to-1 odds and be a lot poorer today than I was yesterday. So I think the interesting question the morning after is, how did this happen? Was John Roberts thinking, how could it be that in the 2 most important cases of the term, health care and immigration, John Roberts cast the deciding vote on the liberal side in both cases? So I want to start by raising 2 possibilities so as to quickly dismiss them. Perhaps Chief Justice Roberts just looked at the legal materials, the words of the Constitution, the court's prior precedent, and concluded that this was what he had to do. That position is just not plausible. David Rifkin and I agree about almost nothing, but I think we would agree that Roberts could easily have decided that the mandate was enforced by a penalty rather than a tax. And frankly, some of the arguments he makes about the Commerce Clause and the Spending Clause don't pass the straight-face test. Here's another possibility. John Roberts has had a midlife conversion. Perhaps he woke up one morning and decided that Bill Brennan and Thurgood Marshall were right all along. Well, I don't think so. But if these are not the explanations, then what are? let's take a moment to imagine how the world looked to John Roberts at 10 a.m. yesterday morning. Recent polling data shows that while the Supreme Court remains more popular than the presidency and the Congress, confidence in the institution is declining fairly sharply, and there's now less than a majority of Americans who have confidence in it. Almost 3/4 of all Americans think that the justices use political considerations rather than the law to decide some cases. That impression is reinforced by the fact that in the most important cases, Republican-appointed justices are almost always on one side and Democratically appointed justices on the other. The conservatives on the court handed the election to George Bush and Bush v. Gore, and may well have handed it to Mitt Romney and Citizens United and the case upholding voter ID laws. We had the spectacle last week of Justice Scalia openly attacking President Obama in a partisan rant delivered from the bench, and the spectacle a couple of years ago of the President attacking the court as the justices sat listening in the well of the House. And then we have what's likely to lie ahead. The court invalidating all of affirmative action and invalidating the 1965 Voting Rights Act, the centerpiece of the Civil Rights Revolution, by probably 5-4 votes along familiar Democratic and Republican lines. Faced with this collapse of the myth that the court is acting according to the rule of law rather than according to politics, Roberts could not be happy to preside over the first invalidation of a central piece of a president's domestic agenda since the New Deal. So that's the background. What about the case itself? Well, there were certainly reasons why Roberts might have wanted to invalidate the act. The Commerce Clause argument against the mandate has become a central defining tenet in conservative legal dogma, and he would not want to be associated with rejecting it. The Spending Clause argument holds the possibility of substantially restricting federal social legislation going forward. He would not want to reject that either. But there were also reasons to uphold the mandate. The mandate is quite unpopular, but other provisions of the bill or the law are quite popular. Strike down the mandate, and you take its repeal off the table and leave the Republicans in the unenviable position of defending the repeal of the popular provisions. Uphold it, and Romney can run on its unpopularity. Moreover, many experts think that the health care bill is likely to unravel without any help from the court, so why not let Obama stew in his own juices? So how are these positions to be reconciled? As it turns out, brilliantly. Chief Justice Roberts manages to cast the vote, the deciding vote, establishing the Commerce Clause argument and the Spending Clause argument, but also manages to save the mandate while effectively accusing Obama of breaking his campaign pledge not to raise taxes on the middle classes. A pretty good day's work. Was Justice Roberts' opinion in Sebelius political? You bet it was. But the best politicians are the ones who manage to act politically while appearing to act on principle. Chief Justice Roberts is one of the best politicians of our time.
Absolutely.
Well, pleasure to be with you this morning. It's not as good of a morning as I would have liked it to be, but it's not a bad morning overall. Let me talk to you a little bit about what I see as long-term implications of a decision, and we can talk about what made the Chief Justice do what he did as the press assignment teed it up maybe later. I am basically quite happy with what I consider to be the long-term jurisprudential thrust of his opinion, and that the risk of sounding self-serving part of it, of course, is because the arguments which we pressed forward with considerable vigor for the last 2.5 years, and in briefs and oral arguments and in some op-eds, have been embraced robustly, almost perfectly, by the 5-4 decision. Now, Professor Seidman and I would disagree about who is right and who is wrong here, but to be fair, and I think he would agree with that, but folks who have been defending the individual mandate under the flag of the Commerce Clause and Necessary and Proper Clause have to concede that that ship has sunk. As far as the tax argument is concerned, It was rejected by Congress and the key players enacting the legislation. It was made rather feebly by the government at the district court level and pressed very little, either in the 11th Circuit, very little in the appellate and Supreme Court briefing. So we have to acknowledge that that's what happened, and that's a good thing. I would tell you that from a long-term, I mean, by the way, one of the things I wanted to emphasize for me, this case has never been about health care. It's been about the vitality of our constitutional architecture, about the dual sovereignty system that, to paraphrase not just the Chief Justice, but Justice Kennedy and his concurrence in Lopez, is the most distinctive and unique feature of our constitutionalism. As you all know, federal government exercises limited enumerated powers. States exercise the great residuum of general police powers. That diffusion ensures accountability, prevents any single set of hands from amassing all power, way to protect individual liberty, et cetera, et cetera. That is, in my view, the right position. Even better, the Commerce Clause arguments have been founded in 200 years of jurisprudence. The Necessary and Proper Clause arguments were a little trickier, and I remember numerous debates with people, not even in academia, but really at the brief writing and moot court context, debating, do we proceed with a traditional two-step necessary and then proper, or does the Comstock change anything, and what's the significance of Justice Scalia's language in Reich? The fact that the court has laid out, the majority, perfectly, crisply, clearly how the Necessary and Proper Clause works, the fact that it's a modest adjunct, this is what the framers called the sweeping clause, to implement the enumerated powers, that it's not an independent grant of authority, that it does not allow you to escape otherwise existing constitutional limitations in Article 1. Obvious points to me, but the fact they're obvious to me does not make it any less exciting that 5 justices have embraced it. It's a great day for the Necessary and Proper Clause. On the spending clause, look, since the days of Stewart Machine v. Davis, which is a 1937 case, and of course the Dole case, we all knew that there is a notion out there that there are some restrictions on the spending power. And again, if you take the proposition that the federal government has limited enumerated powers, as far as Article 1 is concerned, either, if you look at each power individually, all of them working together, why shouldn't there be limitations in the spending power? But I'm gratified, enormously gratified, that the court actually spelled it out. So the vertical separation of powers is safe, and I think in the long run it is a very good thing. Sure, it's a 5-4 decision, but it's a very compelling decision. By the way, on the spending clause, it's a 7-2 decision, for which I give Roberts considerable credit. What is unfortunate about the case, I think, is more tactical, and again, leaving aside the motivations. I would say perhaps I'm a more idealistic person, despite being a practicing lawyer, rather than a law professor. I think I'm the only non-law professor on this panel. I would ascribe it largely to the desire to bolster the institutional legitimacy of a court and not some refined political calculations about whether or not it's going to help Romney or President Obama more. That's too cynical for me. But leaving that aside, what bothers me the most is that the court rewrote the statute. So if you want to put it in a very pithy way, what this opinion does, it invigorates and protects the vertical separation of powers, which is a key part of our constitutional architecture, while substantially deforming the horizontal separation of powers, because the court is not supposed to rewrite statutes. That's the essence of being a legislature. And I understand constitutional avoidance, and we can talk about it, but I don't think any serious student of the law would say there was constitutional avoidance. The court rewrote, first, the individual mandate, and we can talk about in greater detail about why it's not a valid exercise of taxing power, aside from the fact that Congress clearly said that it's not a tax. And you don't need to call what it is. You don't need to label it. But if the legislature clearly says it's not a tax, it's a bit jarring to transform it into a tax. But more importantly than that, the discussion about direct taxes / capitation taxes is historically wrong and legally incoherent. That's not how it's supposed to work. But also the court rewrote the Medicaid section, because the court, 7-2, said you cannot have compulsion. You can destroy state sovereignty in a variety of ways, and pauperizing states is a sure way of destroying state sovereignty, every bit as conscription a la Prince in New York, or a la taking over general police power and then with the supremacy clause depriving states of any regulatory autonomy. The other way you can do it is the Greek way. You can pauperize states. That's great. The court should have stopped there. They rewrote this section to give states a choice. It's not there. That's not how it's written. So at a tactical level, kind of a perhaps somewhat pedantic level, I think it's very jarring. But in the long run, the basic contours of this opinion are going to be very, very, very important. And I would say you have to read Justice Ginsburg's dissent that's quite vitriolic, not terribly unusually vitriolic, but fairly unusually, to underscore for you why I'm right in drawing those long-term implications here. Thank you very much.
My task up here is to try and describe in 5 minutes or fewer what this decision means for health reform and the transformation of the healthcare system. I think the starting point, obviously, is the essential green light that the decision gives to the entire Act, which, of course, is enormous in scope, goes way beyond the issue of coverage itself, deals with essentially system transformation on matters of healthcare quality, healthcare access, improvements in the public's health, bringing greater transparency and compliance to the expenditure of healthcare funds. It would have been, putting aside the legal significance of it, it would have been an almost unthinkable step to have done what the dissent wanted to do and attempt to pull this law back, because so much already has been set in motion. There have been many articles, of course, in the past couple of weeks in the barrage of newspaper articles and other reports about the decision having to do with what it would mean to stop the law in its tracks as a whole, what would continue on, what would not continue on. There's no question that had the law been repealed in its entirety through a decision, certain things that are already underway in the healthcare system might have proceeded just the way in 1994 the managed care revolution proceeded, even when efforts to reform coverage stopped. But the law has set so many things in motion and makes so many investments in transformation that I think its preservation is absolutely an essential underpinning to progress in health care, as well as, of course, a new era in what it means to be an American where health insurance coverage is concerned. Most of the questions, of course, have come up about Medicaid. It happens that the area that I know the best in insurance law is Medicaid, and so when the decision came down yesterday, people in my office turned to me and said, "You are toast." You know, it became my job for roughly 12 hours to try and help people understand what the court had done in Medicaid. I actually disagree with David Rivkin on his characterization of what they did. If you open up the statute books today, not that anybody's had time to start rewriting things yet, if you opened up the statute books today, you would see that the Medicaid expansion group, that is all of the individuals whose coverage is subject to 100% federal financing under the new law, is exactly the same expansion group that it was yesterday. It sits in the same place in the Medicaid statute. What has changed is not that group and not Congress's power to create such a group, and certainly not Congress's power to spend money on this group, and not even Congress's power to enforce its expectations regarding coverage of that group in the case of states that participate in coverage. What has changed is the armamentarium of remedies that are available to Congress when it comes to assuring some aspects, and not all aspects, but some aspects of compliance. Now, how did we get to this? It is one of the great feats of all time. In fact, I said to a friend last night, that those of us who think most about coverage of health care of the poor and underserved should really call the children and adults who will benefit from the expansion Roberts individuals. Just like those of you who know Medicaid know that there are children who to this day are referred to as Ribicoff children because their sponsor, Senator Ribicoff, created them.
Or Waxman kids.
Or Waxman children, absolutely. So we see how he arrived at what he did. There were, of course, as Justice Ginsburg herself noted, seven justices who thought that some aspect of the Medicaid expansion was unconstitutional. But what Chief Justice Roberts told us is that it was only unconstitutional to pursue certain kinds of enforcement remedies as opposed to creating this group, setting expectations for this group, assuring the coverage in accordance with those expectations down the line. So how did he do this? He did it by imposing what I call a two-state solution on the Medicaid statute, sort of superimposed an astounding but absolutely crucial, life-saving distinction between what the Medicaid statute requires or provides for and how those requirements get enforced. So he essentially said, look, the expansion is totally lawful, and Congress has the power to spend money. What Congress cannot do is to threaten states by withholding money from their existing Medicaid program over their failure to implement what he calls a new program. And he, of course, was able to convince Breyer and Kagan, Justices Breyer and Kagan, to go along with this. Clearly, Justices Sotomayor and Ginsburg were scratching their heads. But the net effect of this two-state solution of calling the new expansion group their own program meant that he could then bifurcate the enforcement provisions of Medicaid and hold that because the enforcement provisions of Medicaid, because the Social Security Act and the enforcement provisions are subject to their own severability clause under the Social Security Act, it was possible to uphold the expansion while at the same time limiting enforcement.
54, the amendment is not agreed to. The unfinished business is a request for a recorded vote on amendment number 13, presented at congressional record, offered by the gentleman from California, Mr. McClintock, on which further proceedings were postponed, on which the ayes prevail by voice vote. The clerk will redesignate the amendment.
Amendment number 13, printed in the Congressional